Hi, I'm Antonis and I want to welcome you all on this Patreon exclusive tutorial on how to paint the icon of Christ of the monastery of Saint Catherine of Sina, this amazing and very famous icon. And this is a great opportunity to learn not only the technique of painting this specific icon, but learn more things about painting and the process of iconography, but also naturalistic painting as well. So as you see here, I have already transferred my drawing on the board that I've prepared with a gesso that consists of rabbit skin glue and chalk. And now I am painting a little bit the background of this icon. If you want to know more about how to gesso a board, you can find a video on my YouTube channel. I plan to do some tutorial, some exclusive tutorial here on Patreon and explain the process more thoroughly, but that video is great as well. Now for this icon, I see that the background is gray, but I suspect that there is some warm underpainting, and this is why I'm covering the whole background here with this ochre warm color. This color consists of yellow ochre, cadmium yellow, some cadmium red, and also a little bit I want to darken this so I can add a little bit of ivory black, or play a little bit by adding just some cobalt blue, but with in mind to keep things in this reddish hue. So little by little and with a nice consistency of the color, I will paint this background here with the color. Now for the drawing, I printed the image, and with the use of the grid method that I have explained in some videos on YouTube, you will be able to create a drawing that is very accurate and very consistent with the original icon. Now, after this first layer of the warm background is dry, I will paint this gray layer of color. It's a bluish gray color, and here I want the consistency to be thus that allows a little bit of the warm underpainting to be visible. Anyway, the warm underpainting will, let's say, shine through the gray layer, and this creates a nice visual effect, a more rich, more interesting visual effect, especially if I will not paint 3 or 4 layers of gray painting and there is still some transparency on this grayish layer. I don't mind if these brush strokes are visible. These create a nice effect. Remember that the original icon of Pantocrator of the monastery of Saint Catherine in Sina is painted with wax colors and caustic, the technique where we mix beeswax with colors to create to paint. This is a very coarse, very rough way of painting. It has a lot of texture on the painting, and the handling of the colors is more rough, so it's okay. I'm not copying an icon of say Andreas Rizos, where a lot of precision, extreme precision is required, but here the approach I have is a more painterly, more loose, let's say, approach, and I'm okay if the brush strokes are visible and not ironed, let's say. Here with a darker blue color I will paint the halo, the border of the halo. You understand, of course, how important the use of the stick is on this, in this case. And I'll do some background painting here as I see it on the original painting. At this point here, I don't use any Kolinsky brush yet. I use a brush that is comfortable for me to use. It's a synthetic brush, and I want to, as you see here, I will paint these darker horizontal, let's say, stripes of color that indicate some change on the background. But I always try to smoothen and blend slightly these colors, as you see here, doing the same on the halo. I will add a stripe of a line that is in between the darker blue and the grayish background, just to soften things a little bit, according to what I see on my reference, and it's aesthetically very nice and very adding to the visual experience. I know this will be a very long tutorial. It's gonna be more than 2 hours, but for those of you who are interested in painting here on Patreon, I'm pretty sure this will be an interesting tutorial. You'll find something to be useful for your painting. As I often say, my palette is not, and explaining the colors is not very extremely important. I understand that many people want to see the palette and they are interested in that. I'm interested in, as a teacher, I'm interested in motivating my students, and also I find it more effective to not just explain to death what I'm doing, but leaving a student, allowing a student to explore the process himself or herself, and it's the only way to really in-depth understand the color, in-depth understand the process. I'm just here explaining my thoughts, a little bit, of course, of the palette, but it's very important for a student to understand that self-motivation and self-curiosity, let's say, to learn and understand the painting is very, very important. So here there is some architectural structure on the background, and what I'm interested in at this point is to keep the same, let's say, vagueness. These architectural structures on the reference photos seem to be a little bit out of focus. They're not, the painter didn't want to keep our attention on these structures, so he painted them in a loose, vague, let's say, way. So this is the same thing that I want to reproduce here and paint. As you see, my brush strokes are not extremely let's say accurate. It's the same way that the painter of Pantocrator has painted this background, and I'm fine if it just gives us some information of some architectural background, and that's that. There are some ornaments on the background, the same color as my underpainting. These will add more to the visual richness of this background. As you see, the first underpainting I did is can already be seen through the gray background, and that's beautiful. That's really nice. Now with a Kolinsky brush, a soft, more accurate brush, I will paint these ornaments as I see, with a color that is very thin in consistency. These star-like ornaments that are very unique, very beautiful, and make the grayish background really vibrate. Painting this icon is a nice exercise for everybody. It is it's an icon that has very naturalistic elements, and it's really great to do it as a study, to paint a study of this icon and see what you can learn out of practicing this study. Here I will lighten up a little bit the halo. It's more yellowy on the prototype, and I will create a color that is more yellowy with cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, a little bit of iron oxide red. Don't be afraid to add some elements of blue or green on these yellowy colors, just a little bit, to without interrupting, let's say, without disturbing the yellowishness of the color. Don't be afraid to add a little bit. It will create a color that can be visually more rich. And now I proceed with painting the clothes. Here these colors are very dark, the colors of the clothes, and I see that they are painted in a much different way than, let's say, the clothes of the Cretan school. They are not the logic, let's say, behind this painting is different. So first I paint a pretty thin layer of color, and then as I'm proceeding with making things less opaque, I will I will start thinking of the γραψίματα, as we call them, the darker shadows, and with a large brush I will paint these darker folds of cloth in a way that will cover also the first layer and will allow me to explore a little bit these folds and how they will be painted. For this color I've used ivory black, of course, also a little bit of cobalt blue and a little bit of cadmium yellow. Just I don't want this color to be to be completely black. I want this color to be a tone or two lighter in value than completely black. And I'm not afraid if by painting this I'm losing some of the information about the folds. That's fine. I just want to create a rich, visually interesting and rich base of color, whereupon later on I will paint the lights. Here I'm painting this element of the cloth that is very typical of Christ. And I see how this is more dark towards the upper left area, where it is shadowed by the Holy Imation of Christ. And I try to recreate this shadow. Now it's important to really feel the material. This of course is painted with egg-tempera, and it's important to be comfortable with your material, to know how it dries, how quickly it dries, and to approach this in a more painterly way, where you can blend colors when they are still wet, have the ability to work quickly and swiftly, and use both the colors of lights and the previous ones that you have on your palette to blend those. Here I'm adding a first light, let's say, of color. For this I want it to be a little bit purplish, so I've used some of the color of the basis color, the dark black color I've used before. I added some cadmium red and some cobalt blue, just a little bit of white, and I created this beautiful purple color with which I will paint this first hint of light on the clothes. Now at the same time on my palette I have this black color that I previously painted with, and I will when blending these colors I will use these colors to blend this first light when it needs, and to play around without any stress. I am in an alert mode here, and throughout the whole painting I'm very attentive, but you have to be confident that you'll bring the result of the painting where you want. Here, as you see, I'm doing some blending. By using an in-between, let's say, color of this first light. Here the clothes are, as I say, much different than those in the Cretan school. You can't easily discern what's going on in this icon in terms of the colors. you just have to recreate a little bit this a similar result to what you see, this dark color. Many painters who have done this study, they just can't recreate this kind of clothes because they are so accustomed to painting Cretan style clothes, and they can't really paint in a more free, more naturalistic way, so they just paint this icon with clothes of the Cretan school. This indicates their weakness as painters, and as I say, iconography, the master iconographers were great painters as well, and this icon is a great example. So just switch to painting mode at this point, not a strict iconography mode, and play around, see what you can do with painting these clothes. They are dark, they can seem easy. We can just cover everything in black, do some darker folds, and that's that. But there is some richness, visual richness going on in the actual icon, and we don't want to lose this chance and paint the clothes in a rich, nice way. I hope this makes sense and this inspires you this opens a new perspective when painting clothes. The brush here is not a Kolinsky brush, it's a synthetic brush, but of good quality. I feel comfortable. I feel that the brush does obey in what I want this to do. And little by little, I bring this holy cloth in a place where I want it to be. Of course, my guide is the actual icon, a photograph of the actual icon, and it's really important to have a good reproduction of this icon. I will attach the photographs that I've used on this file so that you can find the same reproductions that I have used. Now on this chiton cloth that is just underneath the neck, things are even darker. I don't have much visual evidence of what is going on, but I'm pretty sure there are some folds there as well. Here you see how important it was to not paint with completely black, my first layer of covering the clothes, because now I have the purest black to darken the chiton a little bit and to make these folds completely black. So since I don't have a lot of tonal scale freedom here, I have to make use of what I can. what I mean is that as I see, I cannot use, let's say, very light tones to describe these clothes. I can only use very dark tones, so I have to make use the best that I can in order within these dark tones to describe what's happening on the clothes. This is a little bit tricky, but it's really a great exercise and really makes us understand that even by just moving within a small range of tones, dark tones, we can still create a sense of three dimensions and a sense of naturalism, let's say. The nice thing about working on this icon and studying this icon is that I don't really care about my brush strokes being visible. It's part of the it's part of the effect that the actual painting has. I just want my final result to be nice and to describing what I'm seeing. Here I will add a little bit of light of different hue though on the hiton. This light is going to be just a tone or two lighter than the base color, and it's not going to be purplish as the light on the Holy Matthew, but it's going to be more gray bluish, let's say. It's the variation is very little. You will barely discern the difference here on the video, but it adds, as I say, these small differences. They will add to the visual beauty of the icon. So make sure that you have your colors on your palette and you can move back and forth according to where you want to reach. It's important to understand that there's no steps A, B, C. There are some steps, but in general you can move back and forth as you see fit, and for painting in a nice way. It's not just I paint towards light and that's that. I can go back and adding some from my previous layer, from my previous color, and move back and forth. This is very important, and I know that many students would like things to be linear in painting, but painting is a dynamic process, and this is the beauty and the charm of painting, if you ask me. So feel free to just paint without by trusting your instinct, by trusting your talent, and see what you can get. Nobody was right next to the old masters when they used to paint. So, and even if we were, and even if we saw them painting, and even if we had all their recipes and their techniques, still we are a different person. We have different nervous and muscle system. So these studies are just to give us more experience in handling the tools, handling the materials, to give us an idea of what good painting looks like, and to prepare us for painting new and exciting and more personal maybe paintings and icons. So now that I'm done with the clothes, as you see, I've already proceeded with painting the face of Christ the Pantocrator. And at this point I'm using the usual technique of painting with pure black the facial features of Christ. I use precise Kolinsky brush here, and with careful brush strokes I will paint the elements on the face that are more dark. Of course, this icon is very famous for describing the dual nature of Christ, the human and the divine nature of Christ, as it's not symmetrical in the way the Christ looks the viewer. The left side of Christ that seems more calm, let's say more melancholic, describes the human nature of Christ, whereas the right side of Christ with a more upright eyebrow and a different eye than the left eye describes the divine nature of Christ, as they say. So here I see that the right eye is completely different to the left one. The iris is so much different, and this is something, of course, I want to transfer on my painting, because eyes of Christ here are extremely important. And now that I've painted this underpainting, let's say, of black, the facial features, I'm ready to proceed with painting my so-called proplasmos, this base color whereupon shadows and the lights will be painted. And this proplasmos I find that should be slightly warmer than the usual proplasmos, the usual color I use as a base color for icon painting. So as you see, this is a brownish, warm brownish color, not extremely warm, but it doesn't have this greenish element, and later you will understand why. So I'm painting this first layer here of this proplasmos in a way that the black facial features are not lost, but they are still visible through this layer of proplasmos. For this color of proplasmos for the face, I've used some yellow ochre, some cadmium yellow, a little bit of iron oxide red, a little bit of cobalt blue. If needed, I will add a little bit of cadmium yellow and ivory black. As I say, I don't have a specific recipe, and as you see, I use a very limited palette of colors. I use 7 colors, if I'm not mistaken: titanium white, ivory black, cadmium yellow and red, cobalt blue, iron oxide red, and yellow ochre. I think that's that. That's my palette on most of my paintings, both naturalistic and iconography. And for this proplasmos of the hair, I will use a color that is much darker but warmer than the color of the Holy Matthew. This consists of ivory black, a little bit of cadmium yellow, and a little bit of iron oxide red. So now I will proceed with painting the features. I don't really worry about the first layer of proplasmos being so, let's say, messy with so many brush strokes visible. As I'm proceeding, as I said before, I don't have a clue of how exactly this master painter painted this icon. I really have no idea of his process. I'm just trying to guess and to see how I can recreate such a result, how it can be possible for me with my experience and with my way of painting, how can I recreate such a face that looks similar to the original, that keeps its principles of painting and will not paint in a way that is something different. So this process is not, let's say, holy gospel, but it's my way of reaching to the result I want to reach. So first I will paint this the eyes with this darker color. And this is, I see on the reference that this color is a reddish color. So without losing, my preoccupation here is to not lose the facial features, but oppositely to establish those on my proplasmos. And psychologically at this point it's important to not be stressed about what's going on. Yes, the painting looks doesn't look complete at this point, but have faith and trust that something nice will come out of this. Now here in the eyes I see that the iris is a very light color in comparison to the other iconography icons. It's in a very light color, so I'll paint this color on my study. And as I said, without stress, without anxiety, I will keep painting on this stage with a warmer, even warmer color, these facial features. This warmer color consists of iron oxide red, a little bit of cadmium yellow, a little bit of ivory black. I could add some elements of cobalt blue. You just have to reach. I just reach on this darker color, no matter what I've used. The important thing is here to not be afraid of this messiness. You see how messy this looks. You don't have to be afraid of this. This is something that we have to be comfortable with when we paint. Start by being messy, and then little by little bringing things into into what we want them to be. Here I noticed that the eyebrows are not of this reddish warm color, but I have to paint them at this point with a more greenish, black greenish color. So I create this darker color, very similar to the proplasmos of my hair, and then with some lighter by adding cadmium yellow and making this a little bit more greenish, I will softly blend this darkness of the eyebrows a little bit. I will blend this towards the upper side of the eyebrows just a little bit. I will paint. I will, of course, using my painting mode, I will soften them and paint them. And with this color that is dark, but it's not pure black, it's very dark, I will also paint the upper side of the eyes, the iris, the circle, that darker circle around the iris, and the pupil. Here I'm observing very much what's going on my reference. I will try to see how dark the upper eyebrows are in comparison to, let's say, the proplasmos, or I will try to see how dark the circle of the iris is in comparison to the inner color of the iris. And I will observe this relationship of values on my reference, and I will try to transfer that same relationship on my painting. I see that the circle around the iris is very strong, very dark. I will also observe its thickness, how thick it is in comparison to one other to the other. I will see that, for example, the pupil here on the right eye is not attached to the upper eyelid, but whereas on the left eye, the pupil is attached, is a different pupil. So these observations have to be noticed by you when you paint this, and with patience and with taking time to transfer these relationships and what you see on your painting. With experience, you'll become more quick and more deft in painting and observing these things. But it's really nice to take time, and that's why we call these studies, because it's a great opportunity of us to observe, to give some time and observe and transfer these what we see and learn something. The greatest for me, let's say, problem when I paint is my desire to finish the painting, just to feel the excitement of the finished painting. This is something that many painters struggle with. We are just in a hurry to finish, and sometimes this is bad for the actual work. This is not good for the work. We have to fight this urge to be quick and to reach to an end. Sometimes we have to fight it and give the painting the time it deserves and the attention it deserves. Make sure that here on the iris, really you have to pay some attention. It's really important. When I paint eyes, I often say that, especially in naturalistic eyes, there is some blending between the white part of the eye and the iris. but here on this icon I observe that the iris has a strict circle around it, a darker circle that is not blended at all with the white part of the eye that I will paint later on. Now I move to a very, very important step when painting this icon. Normally, when painting icons of the Cretan style, at this point, after painting the facial features, I will just, the so-called γραψίματα, I will just proceed with painting the light, painting the lighted areas of the face. Here, for this icon, I will paint the way I paint a naturalistic painting, and I will proceed with painting some shadowed areas on the face of Christ that look, on my reference, more cool, more cold, let's say, in hue. So I have created this gray greenish color that is of the same approximately value of my proplasmos, maybe also a little bit darker or maybe a little bit lighter. It depends on the transparency of the proplasmos, but anyway, you get the visual idea here from the video. I create this grayish color, and with this I will paint on the areas where the light will meet the shadow, where shadow begins on the face of Christ. Because in my mind I have that later on I will add the lights, and I will have to blend my lights with this grayish color that I'm painting right now. I don't know if this makes sense. Probably I can't explain it very well, but this step here will add a lot of visual beauty, visual richness to the painting, as it's a color that is cool, and in this icon, and in naturalism of course, but in this icon we see it very evidently how the painter plays with cold and warm colors, and this adds a very unique result on the painting. This is something that we have definitely to give on our final painting. Use both and to a great extent these colder and warmer colors. So I added these colder colors in some areas. At the same time, I proceed with the γραψίματα of the mustache and the beard as I proceed. This is something that I could have done previously, painting the beard and the mustache, but as I say, painting is a dynamic process. You can be absorbed by another thing and paint something later. There is no recipe. So here I'm using this darker color that I used for my eyebrows to paint the mustache. I don't worry about the elegance, let's say, of my brush stroke. The reference allows such an approach. And with a bold movement, I will paint the hairs of the bird. As you see, I have on my palette colors that are dark, but they can be warmer or more light. this is the hardest part of this study. It requires a painterly approach from a student, and this might be the hardest thing for a student, but really feel free to explore, to use colors on your palette. And here, for example, as colors are still wet, I'm doing some blending between the warmer, darker color of the beard and the more cool gray greenish color that I've used before to describe the shadowed skin. So here you have to be deft, you have to be quick, and understand the consistency of your color. The color has to be of not very thick consistency. It has to be, but also not very thin. And the brush shouldn't carry too much of color. It should feel that you are in control. This is an important step here, to blend the beard with the flesh, the cool flesh, shadowed flesh here. Hopefully this makes sense and you're not dizzy already from me explaining things. I hope this is useful to you. I certainly think this is a great exercise, and you should try it. The important thing is to understand that the more we struggle in the painting process, the better it is for us. It means that we get better, we improve, and struggling when painting is something that should be welcoming by us. Should be, even if the final result is not great, just struggling to paint something means that we familiarize ourselves with something that we don't know, we acquire experience, and really it should be something that we have to perceive as great. If we paint and we are just in the land of happiness, then it means that it probably means that we don't acquire, we don't improve as much as it would be good. So anyway, here as I proceed, I've done this blending of the beard and my shadow parts of the flesh. I see that why not adding an even more cool layer of color, more bluish, gray bluish, greenish color, and blending this as well with the previous layers of paint that I did. This will add more to the visual richness of the painting, as this is a very bold, cold color, but this icon does allow for this. So I add this color that I would never use when painting in the Cretan style, and this is very exciting. You can also blend this, of course, and this is very exciting to me, because I have to say this is the first time that I paint the icon of Pantocrator of Sina. It's an icon that I first saw as a reproduction back in 1992, and I was really stricken by the expression of Christ. But since this was painted with encaustic, with beeswax, I've never tried to study it in my studio. So this is really exciting to me, and I have to say that when I was painting the facial features before, I could feel the power of his gaze, the power of this uneven, non-symmetrical gaze, and this was really great. It was almost a spiritual experience for me. The way iconography should be for some iconographers. I don't say that I'm, I'm not the most pious of iconographers, so far from that, really. But we should remember that iconography is theology, is a spiritual art, let's say, closely related with the Christian faith, and that's something that we really should remember, as it will be our guide for better painting as well. Being able to feel the spirit, it's great for painting, not only iconography painting, but painting in general. If as painters, this is my personal opinion, if as painters we are only preoccupied about our personal glory, or if our only guide is money or this and that, then we become painters that we lose our sensitivity, our artistic sensitivity as well, and this is bad for painting. Money is, of course, a tool for us to survive, to allow us to develop our talents and charisma. And this is how I perceive money. And here it's a great opportunity for me to thank you so much for supporting me financially. Yeah. While I'm saying this, things are happening on the video. So what I'm doing here is I'm just blending a little bit. I'm not in a hurry to get into the lighting phase. I'm just doing some further blendings with darker tones at this point, where I will blend these bluish tones with the proplasmos. In a way that will seem convincing and according to my reference. I see that on the chin area and around the mouth there are some cool lights, some lights that are more greenish, let's say, but still cold lights, so I'll try to recreate those. And now I proceed with painting the light area, the light shapes, the first light shapes on the face of Christ. For this color I've used the usual lighting colors for most cases. The yellow ochre, titanium white, a little bit of cadmium yellow, and maybe just a hint of some elements of cadmium red. But I need this yellowish ochre color. You see how it's not very whitish, this color. I don't want this color to be white or very close to the white as a tone, but still you see the difference between this color and the color of the proplasmos. And with this color I will carefully try to understand which shapes, which areas on the face now have to accept this color, and to repaint these shapes as best as I can. My brush here is a Kolinsky brush. And you can see how carefully I proceed, because as I'm painting this, I'm closely observing my reference and trying to see what's going on the face of my reference. And also see here that my color is a little bit transparent, but not runny at all. It has some consistency. It's not very thick, but it's not very runny either. And of course, part of this study, it's a difficult study, this one. It's a difficult phase to reproduce, because it will teach you so many things, as it taught me. It's interesting how here the brush strokes are evident. As I said, this is a beeswax face painted with encaustic. So the painter, the master painter of the original one, didn't have, couldn't paint with very fine lines. He couldn't use very fine lines, but still he did. So I'm okay if my brush strokes are visible. This is really nice, and as long as they are painted in a convincing, correct, let's say, way. So little by little, I will, and cautiously, I will paint these shapes of light. See here how I am both painting these shapes, but also I'm just applying the color on the face of Christ. This step is exciting to me. I hope it is to you too, as I see the volume appearing. It becomes much more. The face of Christ appears before me, and it's really, really interesting. Now you have to, at this stage, you have, and in all the steps of painting, you have to really imagine what will happen next. So as I'm applying this color here, I can already imagine how it will seem when I blend this color, when I will add my warmer colors on it, when I can imagine this imagination, let's say, of what's going on the next steps is of course improved by experience. The more experienced you are, the more you will know what will follow, and it will help every step you are at in the painting process. And this happens to me from the early steps of painting, even from at the point when I apply my bases, my proplasmos. And this, as I say, is improved with experience, and But even if you are not that much experienced, try to imagine how the things will look when you blend, etc. For example, on this little, on this shape just between the eyebrows is lit towards the nose, very low towards the nose. That doesn't seem nice or correct here, but I know that I will blend it better. It will not be as strong, say, as I proceed, so it's fine. So now I create on my palette a color that is darker than in value than the previous one, and with this I will do the first, let's say, visual blending of the icon. This color is consists of yellow ochre, consists of some titanium white, a little bit of cadmium yellow to keep things vibrant. Yellow is a color that is very vibrant and keep color alive, let's say. And see here how differently I paint in comparison to the Cretan masters, when they blend using a very linear way of blending egg tempera. Here I will use a dynamic way of more dynamic, let's say, way of applying color. I'll just place the color on the areas where I want it to be darker, on the areas where I want it to seem that they are different planes on the face, and thus they receive light in a different way. I want to make a video, and it's already planned, a video on how light, on some principles of light for painters, and this is a very, very important video lesson that I will upload soon. So these colors here do create, to indicate some change on the planes of the face. And here you also see that while I'm darkening this the first light that I painted before, there are areas like in the cheeks, etc., where this first blending has to be warmer. So I create a second blending of the same value as the previous ochre, let's say, blending color. But this one is more pinkish, more warm and reddish, let's say, that serves for the same purpose, to indicate this change in the planes of the face, but on areas where they need to be more warm, more rosy, let's say. And since the process is not is a dynamic process, I proceed as I see fit. Here on the forehead, for example, I will not use the rosy blending color, but again this ochre yellowish, let's say, blending color. I will observe underneath the eyes what's going on, how dark these folds of skin are under the eyes, and how visible the lower eyelid should be, or this wrinkle on the cheek, how dark this wrinkle should be. So at this point I've painted the first light as I said before, and now I'm doing first blending that in generally I divided into two colors, a more ochre yellowish blending color and a more warm for the cheeks. I also use a color, I also use more thin colors here. I thin down also these colors on my palette, and I will do some further blending as I see. For you here as you watch the video, for those of you that are still here in this lesson, it might seem it might seem very complex and very difficult, this process, but because it is, as I say, a dynamic process. But you have to understand that I'm just following the what I see on my reference, and I can't really explain more thoroughly what I'm doing at this point because I just can't. It's just a matter of what I see in the spur of the process, and I try to imitate, let's say, to repaint it on my painting. In general, I'm still know that I am on the blending phase, and you should, if you try this study yourself, so you should stay a little bit on this step, and you will feel it when it's time for when your blending is done. You will feel it, and you will be able to proceed with the next, let's say, step. So as you see, I can also play with blending even darker, the darker areas. So I do some blending with the mustache, I do some blending with the darker parts of the proplasmos. This is the most complicated, I would say, part of this painting process, but it's if you had your reference right next to it, and if you were at this point of painting, you would do the same thing as me here, I believe. Further blending is going on. I'm preoccupied with blending things with the light with my proplasmos, and yeah, it does look it doesn't look great yet, but you can tell it looks promising, and this is how it should look on your study too. Now here I want to do a further blending. I want to blend this first light I did. I create a color that is darker than my first light, and I will smoothen things a little bit with the blending color that I painted before. It's important here to remember the material of the original painting, and to be okay with this coarse, dynamic way of blending, where, as I said, it's not linear at all, the way the Cretan masters did, but it's more like applying color in various ways with your brush, and in a painterly way, let's say, painted. Now, I can feel you in some way. If I was a viewer, it would feel kind of confusing and difficult to recreate by watching this video. I can really understand this, but that's fine. Even if you don't really, and even if it does seem very complex to you, still try this study, try this exercise, and I'm pretty sure things will be great. Now, this on the left side of the forehead, I see that the light really doesn't allow any of the proplasmos of the base color to be seen. The light goes all the way towards the edge of the forehead almost. There is some blending there. There is some transition there, a little bit of transition, but the light really does go towards the end of the left side of the forehead, and I want to keep that this way because this gives a more naturalistic way, this naturalistic element on this icon. The way the painter lights the face is so much different than the Byzantine iconography as we know it, and this really is in relationship with the Greek painting of the Hellenistic period. Like, say, this icon reminds us the mummy portraits of Fayum. Of course, this icon is painted much later than those Fayum portraits, but it still has a very similar approach, not only because of the technical aspect, the material that they are both painted, the beeswax and the encaustic method, but also because of their naturalism that is very, very striking in this icon. So here I'm doing this blending towards the first light and the blending colors that I used earlier, and here I'm using the brush in a more careful way, trying to keep things interesting visually. And as you see, I go back and forth on specific areas, like I'm moving back and forth on the tonal scale, and I'm adding these warmer colors, blending directly. Yeah, it does seem a little complicated, but it really is interesting and satisfying to paint. I also observe how light in the tonal scale the area below the eyebrow is, and I have to keep this as I see it on my reference. It's also an element of naturalism here. We don't have these strong shadows underneath the eyebrows. And again, I imagine at this point how things will look when I will add the highlights later on, and maybe some glazes where I can make things more vibrant and interesting. Here the color is again very thin. The important is for painting such a study to find a balance between precision between structure on what you do and freedom, painterly freedom. It's really important. And to understand that it is natural to have feelings of doubt while painting such a study. It's difficult, but it's natural to have these doubts, and it's okay to move back and forth in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Playing with thin colors, playing with colors that with glazes that can be very high in chroma. And of course your palette will look very, very messy at this point. It's something that it's very, very, very natural. What let me share with you one good practice I have on my studio. I use my glass palette, of course, and but the main colors, well, see here how I do these glazes with these very thin warm colors, just to warm the cheeks here. Now, when I was painting this, the temperature was hot, so know that the tempera here is drying very fast, and it allows me to paint on dry layers of color when I'm painting. I was saying that the main colors that I use, I mix them in little plastic cups, very little plastic cups, just to keep them a little bit more contained and wet. And then when I want to do some elegant thin mixes, I use my glass palette. But say for colors like my proplasmos, that I know that I will use it for the blending process, and the colors that are more green, bluish, like these main key colors, I definitely have them in little plastic cups and use them as fit. And I use my glass palette to do some subtle mixes and colors that I will need in smaller quantities. These glazes, for example, that I'm doing now, I mix them on my palette, and there I will add a lot of egg tempera solution to make things more thin, more runny. Here I've added a layer, it's a layer of a more grayish color. Much of these colors, of course, will be covered, but still they will add something later on. This is because this grayish color that I've added at this point is because I believe that on the original icon there should be some cooler areas on the forehead and underneath the eyes that will add to the visual richness of the final painting. And I know that most of them can be covered later on, so yeah. So now at this point I still consider, let's say, if I have to talk about on iconographic terms, I'm doing this first light and the blending of the first light towards the proplasmos, the base color. So all this was my first light, and now I'm ready to proceed with my second light, where I will just place some, at this point, I will place some brush strokes of stronger light on the face of Christ. This light is almost white, but not quite. It consists of titanium white, a little bit of cadmium yellow, and some cadmium red. It's pinkish a little bit, and I will place these lights at this point, and then of course blend these lights with my first light. I observe the style of painting of the original one. I see the brush strokes that he has used for his highlights. And as I'm doing this, I'm also working on the neck of this icon. A little bit, and I haven't recorded though this the process of painting the neck. This would be maybe confusing to you, so I just focus on painting this the face of Christ. So now I have I'll do some blending of this second light, and as you see, when I'm talking about blending, I might also completely cover these highlights that I did earlier on, but the color is transparent, and they can be seen from underneath this blending color. Let's say it adds more to the visual richness. Visual richness is something that we should worry, let's say, about. We should have in our paintings. I could paint this face of Christ in a way that could be boring. But instead we need to paint this in a way that will be very beautiful, very interesting for the viewer to see. So here, by creating a color that is a little bit darker than the previous highlights I created, I will paint the second light, and I will light even further the face. This color is thin enough, and it will nicely cover areas of the first light. It's thin enough so that it allows my previous work to be seen underneath. And even if it seems that it covers everything, and you'd ask, okay, why shouldn't I paint this earlier on? This is because in iconography and in painting in general, things have to sit on top of each other in a nice, convincing way. If I had directly painted this light, the result would be a more plastic, let's say, a more false looking result. Now, because I've done all this previous work, this light, which is my main light, let's say, it's very, very nice and looks interesting. I'm re-establishing some shapes of light. I'm using the tip here in some areas, but in a more dynamic, as I said, the way of applying and blending color. So little by little, as you see, this face of Christ does acquire some depth, some beauty, and this is because of all these layers of color that we paint with. Here I observe on this right cheek how what's going on in terms of these warmer glazes, and I really want to reveal on my study to keep these warmer glazes here. So according to what I see, I create thin colors that will give me this sense of warm rosy cheeks on the face of Christ. And as I'm doing these warmer tones, I will directly lighten these tones and do some instant blending, let's say, on the cheeks. On areas that don't have these rosy tones, I will do another kind of blending with more thin, cooler colors. Working on the nose. Now the nose on this icon, the original, it seems a little bit out of drawing, but this is fine. It seems a little strange, the nose, but or the mouth as well. The mouth seems on the original a little bit off, like towards the left. But on the final result, it doesn't bother at all this, let's say, this element of drawing. Hopefully this doesn't get boring, but inspiring for you. The process is long. It can take many hours to paint this face. It really can, but it definitely worth your time since you can learn so many things. If you have closed your eyes, you will see at this point how it does come to appear. And now a layer of a stronger light, a little bit, not very stronger, but one more layer to blend a little bit what I've done so far, and to add one more layer of color on the face. Here I'm working in a quick, comfortable way. I'm not afraid of applying color. At this point I'm careful to not to not paint towards the edge of what I've done before. I want to keep the things that I've done before, or add on them glazes that will add beauty and visual richness, as I say. But I want to proceed carefully though, but also in a comfortable, nice way of applying color. And if we use these thin colors, then the layers underneath still shine through a little bit. Although we can cover things, we can still keep something, and this really helps with having this final effect of many layers that add to the beauty of the face. So here on my palette I play with these colors, and I do mixes in between them. I add a lot of egg tempera solution sometimes to thin the color down a lot. So it really, if I could show you my palette, you could see that it really is very busy. And see here how my brush kind of imitates the wax, the beeswax, the encaustic technique. I don't want to smoothen everything. I really like having my brush strokes being visible like this on this study, just to imitate a little bit this technique of encaustic. Now I do these glazes with titanium white and a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of cadmium yellow. As I say, cadmium yellow is yellow in general is a color that vivids things up, and I often add some cadmium yellow on these glazes because it can give it can make this dull pinkish fleshy color more alive, more vivid, and it's really something that you should consider even on darker blending, let's say, colors, as you see here. I will add some cadmium yellow, and this will add to the beauty of the layers of colors. In some magic way that I even cannot explain fully, the face really does come to its appearance, and it does look nice. It does look consistent with the original, and for me this is really satisfying to paint. Now, at this point of painting, to be sincere, I feel a little bit more relaxed, because I feel that most of what I wanted to achieve has been achieved, and likeness, let's say, has been achieved, and now I am really more relaxed. Now, with a color that is titanium white, I will add these highlights here, as you see, these psimithies, and this is really exciting here, because it directly adds a lot of naturalism, a lot of three-dimensionality on this painting. So now, after I've placed these highlights with a color that is a little bit darker, containing some cadmium, titanium white and cadmium yellow, but very thin in consistency, I will do some blending here. This is a nice way of this is one step towards the final result. As you see, I'm really fine with these visible brush strokes. You can definitely use this this video here if you want to do some studies on the mummy portraits of Fayum. It's very similar, and it's they are very charming. These portraits are very beautiful, and you can definitely use this technique here to study them and paint one Fayum portrait yourselves. You see how thin this fleshy color is. It's almost a glaze. Even if you overdo something, feel free to go back to use darker tones and smoothen, blend, if you have overdone something. Or if some brush strokes seem too harsh, you can blend them even further and smoothen them a little bit. Little mistake here. See though how nicely the cold colors that we've used earlier before are seen in comparison to the warmer tones on the cheeks. This looks really nice. So I would say for this icon it's really important to play with these warmer and colder colors, and this is very characteristic for this icon here. Now the brush that I'm using is of course a Kolinsky brush. It's not, you have to find the right size for each painting, the size of the brush. This is a small brush relatively, but it's not like a very small brush where it would require 1,000 of movements for me to give to blend and smoothen things and apply color, but rather it's a brush that with a fine tip, but whereas I could use the tip for details, but also it has some diameter, not very big, but big enough to help me use it swiftly, deftly, in areas that I wanted to use. A brush that can cover surfaces in a nice, great way. You see, these are the final almost steps on painting this face, and here I use my intuition. Of course, I observe the reference, but I also I observe what's happening on my board, and I want the painting on my board now to be convincing, to be interesting and charming. Some more highlights here with pure titanium white. I have to say that at this point I felt pretty nice, enthusiastic about this painting. Even if the eyes are not finished yet, the fleshy part really looks convincing. It does has 3 dimensions. It does have depth, and it's not just that it looks similar to the original, but it has some visual pleasure, I would say, because of all these layers and the painterly approach that I painted this with. If you Google search, you will find many modern paintings of the same subject, and most of them are painted with the strict Byzantine iconography method, and that doesn't give the original, doesn't honor, let's say, the painting of Pantocrator of Sina, as this approach of the Byzantine masters cannot really give us this depth of painting that the original painting has. The Cretan, let's say, tradition has other virtues. Smells different, let's say, spirituality, if I can say this, but being able to approach this study in a more painterly way, more free, relaxed, and at the same time not relaxed way, it's the way to go for this study. See how much I go back and forth, how much I play without really any structure here, without really following any recipes, just my instinct on where I should blend a little bit more, what I should light a little bit more, what I should darken a little bit more. I just follow this, and just see how much time it takes, how much effort it takes to do this. These highlights on the eyelids add more on the sense of naturalism. And of course, when later on I will light the eyes, the face will be transformed. Here, this is a glaze with some titanium, some cadmium yellow, and really is a color that you have to understand its power, how it can add to the vibration of the painting. Of course, the thin glazes, the thin colors, and I'm pretty excited if some of you painted this. I would really like to know your experience, to see how this was for you, if you enjoyed it, if it was hard for you. Again, if it was hard the way it was hard for me, it's a great sign. For me, it wasn't something without, let's say, stress. I was in an alert mode for most of this process, but I'm accustomed in being in alert mode. This is something that painters are used to, being in this mode of doubt, of alert. And as I say, I welcome it when this happens, because it means that I learn something, I gain experience, I gain I become more experienced for the next painting. I try to observe also what's happening on around the mouth, the chin, and again on the areas where the light meets the shadows. So I think this is pretty much the flesh part, how I've painted the flesh. It does have this encaustic sense on it. It really does. Although I'm pretty sure, I've never seen this icon from up close, I'm pretty sure that I would be very, very amazed if I saw this original icon with all its texture of wax on it, all its spiritual, let's say, power. And I'm pretty sure this image is just a shade of the actual painting, but this is fine. Every person is a different person, and I'm glad to be able to learn out of these great masters, and I wish I could learn even more of their life and way of living than just from their paintings. At some point it seems that I just can't call it a day and give it a rest. It seems that there's always things to work with, but I have to really call it a day and proceed with painting here the hair. See from a little afar how this face looks. It does look three-dimensional. It does look, because we play in tones from almost black to white. We use all these tones, this tonal range on this flesh area, and this is important to use if we need so all the flesh, the tonal scale. It makes things more interesting, more visually more attractive, etc. Here, for painting the hair, I see that there is not, in the reference I use, the hair look almost completely dark, flat. I don't see much going on. So I will try to paint the hair in a way that is not very adventurous, let's say. There will not be much tonal range, the same way the clothes are painted. So on the base color, on the Proplasmos, as you see, I just painted a very light first some light shapes that are not easily discernible from the Proplasmos, from the base color. These shapes are painted with a color that has ivory black, iron oxide red, a little bit of yellow ochre, very similar to the Proplasmos, just a tone or two lighter than this. And after this, I create this black color. It's almost black color on my palette, and with this I will paint the outlines of the hair and some some shadows. I will try to use this color in more thin and more thin glazes with this, just to create a sense of 3 dimensions, let's say, a sense of volume here. As I said before, when painting the clothes, I have to move within a small range on the tonal scale. Everything has to happen in the dark, let's say, using dark colors. I will not use any strong highlights here. So I have to give this sense of naturalism, this sense of hair, let's say, within this dark range of tones. So I use this almost black glazes to create a sense of hair, and then some in between color to soften things up, to to make things appear more convincing. And that's that. Maybe I will use some very subtle outlines, highlights for the hair, as you see on the right side of the hair here. And this is just a suggestion of hair before proceeding with painting the mouth. For the mouth, I have the basis of the proplasmos that I painted earlier before, and now I will proceed with painting the lips of Christ. Of course, here the reference guides me. I see that there is some light going on the upper eyelid that I have to similarly recreate. I see there is a middle line that is rosy enough. Here I keep it. It's still visible because of my proplasmos, but I will make it later on a little bit more rosy. And I will use these pinkish, fleshy colors to give this sense of volume on my lips. They already appear on the face, and they will add to the liveness of this portrait. And as you see, I'm just applying color. It's almost as if I'm using a tempera like oil painting here. While color is still wet or half wet, I will place a similar darker or light color next to each other and create paint these lips. This requires to be a little bit bold with color. If things go wrong, you can always start from cover everything here and begin again. Try to observe a little bit what's happening on your reference and transfer these same relationships on your painting. Try to see how strong the light on the lower lip is, and how reddish, or pinkish, or things are on your reference, and then transfer those. See also these shadows on the edge of the mouth, how they behave, how thick they are, how boldly they are painted on the original, and try to recreate this same effect. See how strong the transition is between the upper lip to the fleshy area of the face. Try to recreate this and use the brush in a way to blend then some things, or make them appear as they are on your reference. As I say, you have to to work as if things were black and white. The tonal scale is very, very important. It's more here, when I was painting the mouth, for me it was very important to paint the tonal variation of the mouth rather than its color. Of course, color in the mouth is very important, but I have to be able to paint this as if it was black and white and keep the lights as light they should be and the darks as dark they should be. As I proceed with painting the eyes and the inner part of the eyes, I want to do some final refinements, say on the eyelids, the color of the eyelids. I want to make sure that now that the flesh area of the face is finished, everything in and around the eyes so far looks correct and in accordance to my reference, that the darker eyelids are dark enough. If I need to make some corrections on the lower eyelids, see how dark those are. And this is what I'm doing here. I'm trying to redefine a little bit the area of the eyes and to be ready now for adding some light in them. Here the reference photo suggests that these eyes are much, let's say, different than and unique in comparison to other icons. So I have to really observe my reference and to see the shapes and the tonal the values in the white part of the eyes. See, for example, if the eye is lit from both sides of the iris, and if this light that I'm painting with now, how light it should be. It should be almost titanium white. It should be darker than that. Of course, it's darker, but also I have to see here how cold, how bluish it can be, or how warm it can be. It appears on my reference to be bluish enough, but I really don't want to overdo it. So I will paint, I will create a color that is grayish, but blue grayish, but it also contains in it some ochre. I don't really want to make this part of the eyes extremely blue, let's say. And I'm observing a lot my reference, trying, I try to keep the gaze of Christ looking directly to the viewer. This is important here, to not lose how directly Christ looks back to the viewer. It is a matter of millimeters. If we move the iris 2 millimeters towards the right or the left, then the gaze will definitely change. So you have to be very, very careful. See how this white part of the eye is connected with the lower lid, the lower eyelid. If there is some stripe of darkness, let's say, in between them, or what's going on there. This is a very, very important area here, and you have to really give all your attention into painting these eyes. At this point, I'm just painting the lights in the cornea and inside the eye. I'm just painting this without really getting back on my easel and observing how this has affected the whole face. Probably it's like leaving the best part for the end. but I'm just really preoccupied here in transferring what I see on my reference on my painting, trying to keep things as they are. Now you see here that on the right eye that the iris is brighter than say the white part, the proplasmos of the eyes, and that creates a very interesting, let's say the least an interesting eye. Here I see that the way this right eye is lit is different than the left eye. I have some suspicions of on this icon on if this was originally painted like this, or if there is something happened with the restoration or repainting of the icon early in the centuries, or maybe the painter of this icon was really an amazing master, because it does take a lot of boldness to paint the eyes like this. The painter has to be a genius, or either a genius or like to really not know how to paint, because these are two completely asymmetrical eyes. So the painter was either a genius or somebody retouched the face in a way that didn't make much sense. Anyway, the result is amazing. I choose to believe that the painter was intentionally created this, and this was his original way of painting the eyes. The result is truly amazing, and I don't know if this is something that not I know. This inspires me to like experiment with asymmetrical elements on paintings on the face. See on the right eye how different is lit. He just lets the right part of the white part of the eye very in darkness, while he lights a triangle on the left side. And now I'm proceeding with painting the highlight in the eyes. Here this is a highlight that begins from the upper side of the eyelid, in contrast of the Byzantine way of lighting eyes, where the white part is not attached to the upper eyelid. Here the highlight is attached, and directly it gives this beautiful, amazing gaze of Christ back to us. It is important to keep his gaze directly onto the viewer. Also, we have this melancholic gaze back to us. Although the right eye should be more strict and defined, I think in my painting it still has some melancholy into it. I don't know, what do you think? It is, you have to agree with me that this asymmetrical gaze is really stunning. It's really amazing, and it does, as I was painting this, it did bring me into some areas back from my childhood, or back from some spiritual experiences of the past. where things in childhood can be more mysterious, more strange, more I don't know. So yeah, this painting these eyes really brought me back to some memories of childhood, and this is strange, and the power of painting. Darkening a little bit with ivory black the pupils in the eyes, in both eyes, and sharpening a little bit the circle around the iris. I observe and see that there is this circle is dark enough also in the prototype, and there is some thickness into it. See how different the one iris is from the other, not only because of the position of the pupil, but also because of the color transition at it. It seems that the circle in the right eye is more abrupt, more thick than the circle of the iris on the left eye. And here again with some black painting the upper side of the eyelid with the hint of some eyelashes going on the right side. There is a hint of some eyelashes. And here on the eyebrows we can add some dark brush strokes to make it more dark. So I think this was a long lesson. Thank you for those of you who saw all of this and are willing to try this or not. I want to thank you so much. And if this was helpful to you, please let me know in the comments below. For me, it really was a pleasure to revisit this painting and to see the process again myself. It was really, really interesting and nice. So thank you so much again for being here with me and putting up with this strong accent of English. I hope this wasn't too horrible for you. And that this was helpful. So stay strong, stay healthy, be in the studio. I would love to see you on my live streams and share thoughts, share ideas. I would love to meet you in person in those live streams. So far they have been amazing. And it's a great opportunity to see each other and to be a little bit more personal. This is nice, and I really would like that. Anyway, again, thank you so much for your support. You are the reason of those videos. I mean, for the production of these videos. I don't think I would have the time to do this without the help from my supporters here on Patreon. So thank you so much. I will see you soon with another video tutorial. And until then, stay healthy and creative, and be great. Bye.